Hi everybody, welcome to a brand new lecture of the Ankit Faria Certified Ethical Hacker Program. Today's lecture is going to be slightly different. Up until now, we have primarily focused on a wide variety of different types of attacks that are possible, irrespective of the platform. Most of the concepts that I have shown to you can be executed on Windows, and wherever possible, I have also given you a demonstration of Linux or Backtrap. Now, after the last few lectures, I have received a lot of emails from many of you saying that you have never really used Backtrack before and you're not really, exposed to Backtrack. So I decided to change the order of the lecture slightly. And although I normally cover today's lecture slightly later on in the course, but due to popular demand, due to the large volume of emails that many of you have sent to me, I thought that maybe I should be covering this lecture slightly earlier. So today's lecture is going to be all about Backtrack, and the main title of the lecture is 25 attacks using Backtrack. So I'm going to show you 25 different cool things that you can do using the Backtrack operating system. Backtrack, as many of you already know, is a hacker's paradise. It comes pre-installed with hundreds of hacking software, and once you download Backtrack, you essentially can use any of those software to execute wide variety of different types of attacks on the internet. So today we'll be seeing 25 different such attacks step by step. I'll be showing you the theory and also showing you a live hacking demonstration wherever possible. So that's going to be the main agenda in today's lecture. Many of you have had problems downloading Backtrack because very recently Backtrack has become obsolete and it's been replaced by a brand new operating system called Kali Linux. Kali Linux is just like Backtrack. It has all the benefits of Backtrack and even more. So if Backtrack had, say, X number of hacking software pre-installed, Kali comes with even more. So a lot of you have tried to download Backtrack but faced the problem where it says that it's no longer supported. Please go to the Kali website. Please don't worry about it. All the hacking demonstrations that I've given you earlier in this course that on Backtrack, the same software like Social Engineering Toolkit or HPing or Xprobe or Nmap, everything else that I've shown you on Backtrack is also available on Kali Linux. The look and feel might be slightly different, but that's about it. Nothing else is really different in Kali Linux when you compare it to Backtrack. So if you've never used Backtrack or Kali Linux before, please don't worry at all. It's extremely easy to use. And today, step by step, I'll show you what exactly you need to do. So let me go ahead and switch to my PowerPoint slides and start with today's lecture. So like I said earlier, the main title, the main topic of today's lecture is 25 attacks using Backtrack. But the problem is, if you open your browser and if you try to go to the Backtrack website, you're going to see this problem. Right? So I go to backtrack-linux.org and it says Backtrack Linux is no longer being maintained. Please check kali.org. So you should click on that link, and Kali is actually, I'll just quickly kind of read the description a little bit, from the creators of Backtrack. So the same people who had created Backtrack have also created the Kali Linux. It's one of the most advanced and versatile penetration testing distribution ever created. Backtrack had grown far beyond its humble roots as a live CD and has now become a full-fledged operating system. Which is why Kali Linux was released. And to download Kali Linux, just click on downloads, and you have various versions available. You have the ISO version that you can download. ISO meaning you can run it from a CD, or you can even download the VMware version of Kali Linux. VMware version is basically the version that will run within Windows using the VMware Player software. ISO version of Kali Linux is a version that will run from a pen drive or from a CD. So that is the main difference between ISO and VMware. Now the title of today's lecture, although it is 25 attacks with backtrack, all the attacks that I'm going to show you today also work on Kali Linux. So I could easily rename today's lecture to 25 attacks with Kali Linux. So although I'll be showing you the demonstration and backtrack, the same things, the exact same procedure you can follow, except that the look and feel, the menu option might change slightly because it's a different operating system, but don't feel scared of doing it on your own, because it's going to be exactly the same process. Alright, so let's go ahead and start with some background information on backtrack and Kali and how you can actually use them to hack into a remote website or computer to perform network reconnaissance, information gathering, and so on. Now backtrack can be downloaded from this website, which will also take you to kali.org, and you can download it, download Kali from that website, and you'll be given an option to download either the ISO image or the VMware version. ISO image basically means that you can run the operating system, either backtrack or Kali, from a bootable CD or pen drive or an external hard drive. If you choose to download the VMware version, it will basically run virtually as a virtual OS within Windows. So if you have never used Kali or backtrack before, I would recommend that you use the VMware version. It will be much easier, because sometimes if you use the ISO image version, you may struggle in terms of installing or making the CD bootable, installing it on the operating system on a pen drive, and so on. But it's completely up to you, depending on what you're comfortable with. Either go in for the VMware version or the ISO image version. For beginners, I personally recommend the VMware version. So for you to be able to use the VMware version of backtrack, you need to download one more software called VMware Player. And VMware Player is available as a free download from vmware.com/products/player. If you choose to download the ISO image of backtrack, then I would recommend that you download another software called Power ISO. Power ISO is basically a ISO burning tool. It's essentially a tool that allows you to burn an ISO image onto a CD or a DVD, or install an ISO image onto a pen drive, so that the CD or pen drive becomes bootable. And you can get Power ISO from poweriso.com. You don't need to worry about KDE and GNOME interface, because in Kali Linux you are not given these two options. Kali just comes in one option, so you just can go ahead and download it without worrying about KDE versus GNOME. Now, the only difference between KDE backtrack and GNOME backtrack was the look and feel. So this is what the KDE backtrack used to look like, and this is what the GNOME backtrack used to look like. For today's lecture, I'm going to use GNOME backtrack. I had downloaded it, a few months ago, and I still have it. So I'm going to give all the demonstrations today on GNOME. But Kali kind of looks like the same thing. So let me show you what Kali looks like. So it looks different, but it's not really different. So you'll have pretty much the same options like exploitation tools, wireless attacks, password attacks, web application, information gathering, which would include Nmap, Zenmap, and so on, maintaining access, reverse engineering, stress testing, hardware hacking, forensics, and so on. Right? So the only difference between backtrack and Kali would be that Kali has more hacking software than even backtrack. So everything that I'm going to show you today is also there in Kali. The main difference will be that how the menu option, like here you click on applications and then Kali Linux, and then you choose another option like wireless attacks or password attacks and so on. So you may have to just search for that app but it's definitely going to be there. Alright, so that's the main difference between the various versions of Backtrack and Kali. So let's go ahead and start with the first type of attack that is possible using Linux, using Backtrack, or using Kali. And I like to actually start off with some basic Unix shell commands, because many of you may not have used Unix before, and I want to make sure that you're comfortable with Unix. You feel comfortable writing basic Unix shell commands. Just the way Windows has MS-DOS, Unix has something called terminal or the shell prompt. The terminal or shell prompt is a place where you can type Unix commands or shell commands, right? So we'll be starting by discussing Unix shell commands, which will work on pretty much any kind of Unix operating system, be it Kali, Backtrack, Ubuntu, or Knoppix, or Red Hat Linux, or just about any other type of Linux. So in every Linux or Unix operating system, there's usually an icon that allows you to start the shell prompt or the terminal. So in Backtrack, there used to be a black color button. You click on that button and it will start the shell prompt or the terminal prompt. Similarly, in Kali, there will be a button that you can press that will start the shell prompt or the terminal prompt in the operating system. So as soon as you press this button, the shell prompt or shell access, if you look at the black screen, it kind of looks like MS-DOS, right? So that is where you can type your shell commands. And I like to quickly show you some basic shell commands. So one command is pwd. If you have not already taken out your notepad and if you're not already taking notes, I highly encourage that you start taking notes, because I'll be giving a lot of commands today, which it will be much easier if you just note down the commands. So the first command that you got to type is pwd. pwd displays the current path. It displays the current path. So if you look at the screen, I typed pwd and the output was /root, which means that that's the current folder or the current directory or the current path that I'm in. Second command is ls. ls will list all the files and directories in the current path. So ls is something like the dir or the directory command in Windows. Next command is cd, which allows you to change the directory that you're in. Then there's also a copy command. So you can type cp space the source space destination. So that command will allow you to copy a particular file from the source to the destination. rm command allows you to delete a particular file as well. And if you wish to change your password of your Unix account, your login account, just enter passwd. Press enter. It will ask you to enter your current password. Then it will ask you to re-enter your password. It will ask you to enter your new password, re-enter your new password, and then you'll be able to change your password. If you want to add a new user, you use the user add command. So you type user add space followed by the username, the new username that you want to create, or the new user account username that you want to create. And then you type password followed by the password that you want to, followed by the username whose password you want to change. So I want to change Ankit Fadia's username. So I type password space Ankit Fadia. It will ask me to enter new Unix password, re-enter new Unix password, and it will then successfully change the password for me, or rather assign the password for me. So if you notice, it's kind of the same command that we use to change the password. And now that we kind of know these commands, let me go ahead and give a demonstration of each and every of these commands. Now this is what VMware Player looks like. So you just select the backtrack operating system or the Kali operating system that you want to start and click on play virtual machine. And automatically VMware Player will start that operating system for you within Windows. So essentially this window is within Windows itself, and inside this window a virtual operating system is running, which could be Kali, which could be Ubuntu, which could be Backtrack. It could be any operating system of your choice. Today's lecture I'm going to show you the Backtrack tools, but then the same tools are also available in Kali. So let's wait for Backtrack to boot. So it is asking me to log in. So I log in as root. So I type root as the username and I type my password. I obviously won't tell you my password. And then I type start X to start the graphical user interface of Backtrack. So let's wait for Backtrack to start, and then I'll give you the demonstration of the first section of today's lecture, which is basic Unix commands. And these basic Unix commands you can pretty much type in any Unix operating system. So to start the terminal or the shell prompt, I click on this button, black color button, and that has opened the shell prompt. So the first command is pwd, which displays the current path, which is /root. Then I type ls, and it shows me all the different directories and files that are currently there in the path. Then I can use the cd command or the cd command to actually change the path. So I go to say cd desktop. You have to be careful that it is case sensitive. Then in desktop I type ls and it shows me all the files that are there in the desktop. And to delete a file I use the rm command, which I won't use because I don't want to delete a file. Maybe what I can do is I can use the copy command to create a new exe file. So I've created nfs2.exe, and now I can use the rm command nfs2.exe to delete that file, and when I type ls, nfs2.exe is no longer there. Very basic stuff in Unix. Now if I use the password command, it will ask me to enter new Unix password. Right? I don't want to change it, so let me just go ahead and close it. Now what if I want to add a new account? So I type the command user add afcheh. It says user afch already exists. Okay, so user add afch2. Okay, so now it has created a new user called afch2. Now I type password afch2. So it is asking me to choose a password. So I enter a password, retype password, enter. It says password updated successfully. As simple as that. So these are some very basic Unix commands that everybody needs to know to be able to survive in this in the world of Unix, irrespective of which Unix operating system you're using, be it Backtrack, Kali, Ubuntu, Knoppix, or Red Hat. Let's quickly move on to the next topic, which is cracking Unix passwords. So earlier we had learned how to crack pretty much all kinds of passwords. I think we have almost done 2 different lectures which are focused on how to crack pretty much any kind of password. The one type of password that we did not cover in those 2 lectures is how to crack Unix passwords. So today I'll be talking about how to crack Unix passwords. But just the way, before we saw a demonstration of how to crack, say, Windows passwords, you need to understand how Windows stores passwords. Similarly, it's important to understand how does Unix store the passwords. So if you remember, Windows stores all the passwords in the SAM file, the Security Accounts Manager file. In Unix, you have something similar called /etc/password file. Unix usually stores account information, that is the usernames and passwords, in a special file called the /etc/password file. This file usually has to be read by various apps, tools and commands in Unix, hence it has to be globally readable. This obviously will compromise the security of the passwords. Anybody who has access to that file could potentially just open that file and view the passwords. So instead, what Unix systems do is they have stopped storing the passwords in the /etc/password file, and instead they store the passwords in another file called /etc/shadow. /etc/shadow. And this file is normally only accessible by a root user. So only if it's a root user can they actually access this particular file. Root user means admin user. So in Windows you have admin or administrator. In Linux, generally a root account is an admin account. So there is a particular command which I like to share with all of you. It's called cat /etc/password. /etc/password. So let us actually run this command in my Linux operating system. So again, this is usually independent of which operating system you're using. So as soon as I type that particular command, it has displayed various users. So if you notice, we had just a few minutes earlier created a username called AFCH2, and then there's :x:1004:/home/AFCH2:/bin/sh. So this reminds me a little bit of the SAM file format, where when you open the SAM file, there every row is a different user, and usually there are different columns or different pieces of information that are separated by a colon. Like for example, there's an account called Ankit Fadia, there's an account called Ankit, then another account called AFCH, and so on. So that's what happens when you type the cat /etc/password command. So we have already learnt what the /etc/password command is all about, or file is all about. Unix used to store the password in /etc/password, but now it is being stored as /etc/shadow. But to view that password file, you can just use the cat command. Cat command is like the notepad command. So now that we have opened the /etc/password file, let us try to understand the format of that file. So typically you see such rows in the /etc/password file. Let us understand what each item signifies or what each item means. Root is the username. X is displayed instead of the password. So for every account, the second column is where the password should be stored. But the password is not stored in the /etc/password file. So instead of the password, you have X being displayed. After that, you have a number. If it's 0, then it usually means it's a root user or